Hello, Vol Nation. Welcome to another episode of Pancakes and Bacon. I'm your host, as always, Kerbyson, joined with Reed Bacon. We got a great one today. We're talking fall camp. It just happened. We're in the first week of it. The excitingness that you feel as a player, also the pain that you might feel as a player. So we go over that. We talk about big question marks on offense and defense. So super exciting. Football is back, so you can't be any happier than that. If you guys are watching, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. We absolutely love the comments. If you're just listening, rate and review, download and re-download. It helps us so much. Also, follow us on social media at Pancakes and Bacon for our main account on Twitter, at Pancakes and Bacon _RTI for Reed, or Pancakes and Bacon _RTI for our Instagram. Got a little mixed up there. No biggie. For Reed, it is at rbacon26 on Twitter. For myself, it is at Kyler Kerbyson on all social medias. So please check me out there. And let's just jump into this fantastic podcast. Very excited to talk about this. So Reed, how we doing, bud?
We're back. We're back. We're getting our best friend Kyler back.
He is back.
Hey, we only took off. We only missed 1 week, and it feels like it's been forever. I'm very excited to talk. I have to start with one. I have to start with this. Sorry, I had a phone call.
That was incredible. I have to start with this. Black screen.
my sweet and beautiful cousin Liz was calling me, and I had called her earlier, so that was coming through on the phone. But anyways, I have to start with this. So today, Megan and I went to Sacred Heart, went to Mass, went to Cassie's Corner Grill. Hadn't been there in a while. I used to eat there a lot when I lived out west, but hadn't been there in a while. So we went. Sitting outside, we order our food, sit down, I go in to wash my hands like I always do, and all of a sudden I hear this, hey, and I'm like, and then it's a pretty loud hey, and I kind of look, and it's like, hey, aren't you Reed that does the podcast? And I was like, well, unless there's another Reed and another podcast you're talking about.
No, there ain't.
And so I have to shout out John. I wrote he introduced himself. He was, John's probably in college or high school. But I loved his enthusiasm. He was like, hey, are you Reed from the pod? I said, yeah. And he goes, hey, it's great to meet you. I said, no, it's great to meet you. You know, thanks for saying something. And he goes, yeah, I was just listening to y'all a couple days ago. I love what you guys do. And that is the number one thing. Number one thing, even when those checks come through for whatever amount it is, nothing is better than when someone stops and says that. And I did ask John's last name, and I wrote it in my phone so I wouldn't forget, but now I'm recording on my phone. But it was like Tomolis, I think, or yeah, I think that was what it was. But anyways, I wanted to give Big John a shout out. And this boy was sitting there with his lovely family having a nice meal, and he was like, didn't care if it was in front of his parents, like didn't care if he was.
I gotta talk to that guy.
Huh?
He's like, I gotta talk to that guy. I love that guy.
It was awesome. So, and saying that real quick, this was months ago, but I remember I called you right after it happened, and there was another individual, and I forgot to shout him out after I went to the zoo with Tyler and Mari and their two girls, and someone had shouted me out. And remember, I called you, and I said, man, it was so awesome, and he mentioned you and how much he loved you, and I forgot to mention him, and I forgot to shout him out and give his name. So you know who you are. It was like back in March or April, you came up, we talked, you were super nice. Hit me up in the comments or on Twitter because I want to give you a shout out. But man, that means the world to us. So I want to tell you, it was cool. I get it more because I'm in Knoxville, but
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't get as many people coming up to me, but that is awesome. You got the like Grinch moment, just heart just growing 3 sizes that day.
Yeah. Hey, actually, you know what? We did get one of our listeners in the comments that said he thought he saw you at Shelby Golf Course and yelled at you, and you kept
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I just kept driving, had no idea. Well, let me tell you something. It is years and years of the experience where someone is saying Tyler, and I turn and look, and they're not talking to me, and it's fucking embarrassing. And I always hate it. So years and years of that, it's like I wait until I can hear like the Kyler that I'm really like, oh, they're talking to me.
Now, that's not Tyler referring to our friend. That's just Tyler's in general, right?
In general.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how many Tylers I played with in football and how many times I turned because I thought the coach was talking to me and then I'd look like an idiot. I just, it was constant, dude. Constant.
Hey, speaking of coaches and playing ball, how much money, and I'm dead serious, how much money would it take for you to go through camp right now? All camp, whole thing, not one practice, not one day, a whole camp.
Like I am right now. Like in this 30-year-old body I got.
Yeah.
For a month, dude, for a month. Ooh, I think I'm going to need like 10K. I mean, I'm just thinking about like, okay, what can you usually make just working a regular job for a month? And I'm like, it's got to be way more than that.
Yeah.
I love football. Football is the love of my life besides my wife.
And
a little bacon over there. But dude, camp is an entirely different animal. It's one of the things that makes you question football.
Yeah. Great.
That's literally what it is. When you get there as a freshman and you go into camp, you're like, oh shit, I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this. It is ruthless. It is. And especially, and I'll tell you what, especially in college. High school, you got parents looking after you. You got rules that are going on. They call into the coach, hey, you can't practice them 2 days every day. Hey, there's a heat index. You'll get in trouble. In the NFL, these are grown men. You're not going to have 35-year-olds out there for that many hours. They aren't going to put up with it. It's not the same. There's stress because you want to make the team. That part is very stressful. But to say the difficulty in college, they got you by the fucking balls, dude. Like, you ain't going anywhere. You're mine for the next 25 days of camp. And it is atrocious. Like, wake up at 6, go into meetings, work out, lunch, more meetings, practice, dinner, more meetings, go to sleep at 10, and you're up at 5:30 again. And it's just day after day after day.
Did you all get any days off? Like where you had a legit day off?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No. There was never a day where we didn't do anything.
Yeah. Okay.
You're at least going to have a workout. You're going to have multiple meetings every day. It does not matter. And then, they might throw you a bone and go, hey, we're not going to practice today. Let's go to the movies. And it's like the greatest day of your life. But you still worked out in the morning. You've been in meetings for 5 hours that day. So it's like you don't get a free day. But camp is just absolutely brutal.
Let me say this. I think if someone gave me 8 to 10K, but I got to do it at the University of Tennessee right now with Coach Hype and those guys, I could probably do it for 8 to 10. But if someone sent me back and I had to do the exact same camp at the University of Memphis that I did in 2010, I mean, I would probably 20 to 25K, honestly. And you got to understand, like, we don't really know what we're going into as freshmen. Now, when I was in high school, I knew a couple people that were playing high-level college football, like at the University of Alabama with Nick Saban. And I guess there was a couple, maybe one person at Tennessee at that time that I knew that you kind of can talk with.
Mm-hmm.
but you hear it and you're like, wow, this is going to suck. But then when you're in it, it is, I mean, you just don't know what you're getting yourself into. And like you said, I mean, we love football. We love football. I even didn't mind practice. I really didn't. Like, practice is kind of crappy, but sometimes it's not bad. And then the games are just unbelievable.
Mm.
But camp, I think the number one thing that I can't express to people is that for me personally, I was in a legitimate different universe. And I tell people that all the time.
Oh yeah, you're cut off from the world.
You seriously, you are cut off from society. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so Memphis, we started, it was like on August 2nd or August 3rd, and it was the first year of Larry Porter. So I promise you,
He was trying to set the tone on your ass.
Yes. So we not only did we get camp usually stops like a little bit before school starts, or maybe we kept basically doing camp all the way up as far as we could. We did it instead of going from like August 4th to like the end of August. We were like into September because we didn't play the week 0 in college. We played into September on Labor Day. It was at Mississippi State. So we had like an extra week or so. But when I tell you, the horn was being blown at 5 a.m, and we were dressed and changed and probably in meetings by 5:45, 6. And then we would get cut loose from our walkthroughs 9:15, 9:30. You get your snack and you go back. And I'll still always say the craziest people that I know were the guys that we would finish and they would be like, all right, I get dibs on FIFA. I get dibs on Madden.
Yes. Dude.
And it's like, and I'm like, what are you doing? We have to be up at 5. Like, they could have said, hey, we're going to go rob a bank. And I would have just been as shocked as, hey, I'm going to go play Madden. Cause I'm like, what do you do? We got to be right back up. So,
or if they do it where it's like you get out of lunch at 1 and practices until 3, like you have like 2 hours before practice actually starts, and guys are like, I'm gonna go play video games. I'm like, dude, I'm taking a nap. Bro.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think I can express that. It's the trippiest feeling in the world. So I would finish that night, and I would call my dad, and I would honestly talk to my dad 3 to 5 minutes. I would tell him to put my mom on the phone, and I would talk to her for 2 or 3. She's like, how's my dad and I are talking football. We're talking this. He's like, hey, keep pushing through. And then my mom's like, how's my baby? Are you okay? Are you hurt? Are you ready to come home?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mom, I am.
And then I would hang up with them, and then I would just text or call the girl that I was dating at the time and talk to her for 3 to 5 minutes, and then it was a wrap, and that was it.
Yeah.
And all those players were used to Tommy West, and they said, hey, camp, like, he gives us a day every once in a while where you don't do anything, like maybe a little bit of meetings in the morning, but you can have a Sunday off. And I'm like, I can't wait for that because I'm going to sleep all day that Sunday and just rest and recover. And with Porter, he never gave us a schedule. So you are chasing this carrot that you don't even know if it's coming true. And guess what, Kyler? It never came true. We never got a day off. They took us to, we went bowling time one Sunday. We went bowling, but it was after practice, everything. So we basically did camp until about 4 or 5. We ate dinner. They took us to bowling, and that was like the only thing off we got. And I remember just being there, standing on the field in walkthroughs, and you're not like all the other things in life. You're not thinking about it. All you're thinking about is I want sleep. My body's so sore. And as a freshman, for me, I'm not trying to pick up on the game plan and stuff like that. I mean, I was just whatever. But anyways, it's just that was the craziest thing to me is Memphis, the city of Memphis, could have been under attack from like the Chinese, we wouldn't have known it. We wouldn't have known it.
You don't know anything, and especially back then, like 2011 for you, 10, like 2011 for me, it was like there's like Twitter wasn't popped off. Like you're not getting a bunch of news on social media. Like you literally are cut off from the world, and you don't have time to reach out to people.
And you don't care, either.
No, and what I was thinking about where you were talking about like meetings and stuff, you are required to sign in at breakfast, to sign in at the meeting, to sign in at a workout, to sign in at lunch, to sign in at dinner, to sign in for your snack, to sign it. You are required to be everywhere at the exact time you're supposed to be everywhere in 30 to hour increments through a month. That is how you're controlled throughout that. Like, that is crazy. People aren't used to that. And guess what? If you miss breakfast, if you didn't sign in, you're running after practice.
Yeah.
Because you missed breakfast. Like, they make you eat.
Yes, they do. And they do that. They make you eat. And Memphis was so hot. I've told people this. Memphis was the second hottest place in the United States that year behind Louisiana. There was multiple times I'd go out there, and I've told this joke a million times where one of our trainers, she was like, "Hey, Reed, do you want to know what the heat index is today?" I was like, "No." And she's like, "Well, it's 118." I'm like, don't tell me this stuff.
Yeah, why are we practicing?
We're practicing in Memphis in August at 2:30. Like, our practice was our regular practice time, because that's like 2:33 is when you practice when school starts. But yeah, I mean, it was
brutal.
It was wild. It was wild. And I'm so happy I experienced it just so I can know what it feels like. And I always tell people one of my greatest achievements. I mean, you were all SEC, you were a big recruit, you had a lot of cool achievements. My biggest achievement, and I didn't know what it was, but at the very end of camp, the last day of camp, Coach Porter, the head coach, in front of everyone goes, "Hey, when I call, if I say your name, I want you to stand up." He says two people's name and then mine. So I'm like, look around.
Who am I standing up with? That's the first thing I try and look at.
Right, exactly. I'm like, hey, are these guys that I think are part of my language, but like shitheads? Like, did we do something stupid that I don't know about? And it's like, well, if they name like a starter, I'm like, well, I'm not a starter. Like, I'm not a starter. I'm not even close to start. Like, what's going on here? I think it was either 4 or 5 of us stood up, and he says, "I want you guys to give these guys a round of applause. They are the only people that didn't miss one thing entire camp. We didn't miss a workout. We didn't miss a meeting. We didn't miss practice." And I was like, you know what? That's cool. I'll remember that. I'll remember that forever. And you know what? I'm also quitting this team in about 3 months.
I'm fucking out of here, dude. There ain't no way I'm putting up with this.
Wild stuff. Anyways.
So fall camp is fun when you're outside of it and you're like, hell yeah, football's back. Like, so exciting that everything's coming back in circle. You miss it for so long, but when you're in it, it's ruthless. It is a freaking grind.
Real quick. Did you think mat drills or camps worse?
Camp.
Yeah. Okay.
By far.
Yeah.
Because everything else.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, mat drills, yeah, it sucks for 2 hours, but then you're okay.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. It does say fall camp on here. Obviously, you guys know we go to practices. Mm-hmm. Well, Kyler has something to say.
Yes. So finally talked to who we usually talk to, Scott over there. It's about going to practice. And the boys have stepped up. We are no longer middle of the mall shit. We are technically media. We've been getting away with it for a while and not having, scooting around that, being able to go to practice, Reed just hanging out, being a fan. But now that we are media, Reed can no longer stay for the practice. He can go at the very beginning, but that's it. Because I am a Vol, I can go to practice, but because I am a Vol and a media Vol, I have to be careful now. So with all of that, it's still up in the air if we end up going to practice.
If you end up going to practice.
Yeah, if I end up going to practice, Reed will not be able to. But we at least want to talk about practice, talk about what we're looking forward to seeing and what guys we think are going to, kind of step up out of their position battles, just overall positions we're excited for. So let's jump into the offensive side of the ball.
Can I go first?
Huh?
Can I go first?
You can, because I was about to tell you, where I want to start.
Yeah, we're going to let you get to the offensive line. I just have a soapbox moment real quick.
Okay. Hey, now listen, Reed. Soapboxes aren't usually too quick on your account. So just be careful with your soapbox. I don't want to turnover, and I'm talking about offense at the 40-minute mark. Okay.
And by the way, my Wi-Fi was cutting in and out a little bit. So whatever you said, but I wanted to make sure people know you are allowed to go practice. You can stay as long as you want. You can report on anything you want. Kyler just doesn't know if he wants to make the trip to drive to Knoxville to go to practice without his boy because I'm his best friend, pal.
Like
now,
you said, love of my life.
It's a bummer. It's a bummer that I can't go. I knew this was coming. It's not a surprise. I've gotten to go 5 times in the Josh Heupel era. That's 5 more times I ever thought about it. So if Kyler decides to go, he'll go. He'll do his thing, but he hasn't decided that yet. It'd be different if he lived in Knoxville. I'm assuming you would that.
It'd be a lot easier.
Yeah, so you can go, and we'll let you guys know if he does, and he'll answer everything that you guys want to know. Here's my soapbox moment, especially maybe overall for the team, not even offense. I think I am just tired of hearing about the receivers. Now, I listen. Obviously, we are part of the RTI team. We would have not joined Rocky Top Insider if we didn't love the team. There was a reason that match happened. So I'm not blowing smoke when I say the only thing that I really read or keep up with is what Rick and Jack and Ryan put out. And so I do hear some other stuff on the radio. Maybe you see some other stuff on Twitter. I've got some investigation going on. I think a media member that I think everyone likes. He seems like a good person, but I think he's trying to give y'all some fake stuff because I heard him make some comments about seeing stuff at practice. I'm like, I don't know if you saw that at practice, my guy, because I don't think you're.
No media members see anything.
Well, no, they see some stuff, but like he was making comments about seeing stuff in 7-on-7 and team, and so I got to do some investigation to see if any of our media guys have got to see any 7-on-7 or team. But I digress. I'm tired of hearing about the receivers, and it's like who's going to be the best one, and it's almost like, and that's not the topic, but it's like who is like we know Brew's good, we know Squirrel's good, we know Ramel's good. Is Dante the guy? Is he the guy this year? And then it's like, well, it is we know Dante's good, we know Brew's good. Is Squirrel the guy? And it's just like, hey guys, they're all going to be good. We know what Brew McCoy is. He's going to be good. We know what Ramel Keaton can do. He's going to be good. I know we traditionally run 3 on the field. Guess what? 4 and 5 and however many they're going to play this year. So it doesn't matter who starts, who doesn't start. It doesn't matter who's in the slot, who's outside the slot. And now we all know that Dante is a freak of nature athletically. That's a shock to no one. Now, the good thing is he's not a freshman or like a JUCO guy. He's coming from Oregon. So we got to watch some of his actual game film and know that he can produce. But this whole back and forth, who's this? Oh, the coaches are really talking about Ramel. I've heard a lot of people talking about Ramel. It's like, well, yeah, they're talking about Ramel. Did you see what he did last year? And then me and you were like, I was on the Ramel bandwagon 3 years ago because I was like, bro, I show up and all the guy does is moss people. That was the part of the whole like Malachi Weidman or whatever that guy's name was and Jalen Hyatt hype. And I'm like, me and you were like, I go to practice and I just see Ramel balling someone. Like,
yeah, that's it. I see him and Jack Jancic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's what my point to this is stop. They're all going to be good. They're all going to produce. Now, are we going to have a Biletnikoff winner out of one of them? Kyler, I don't know. Maybe. But guess what? I don't even know if that's still going to – if we have a Biletnikoff winner, I still don't know if that person's going to be this high, like this head and shoulders above everyone else. Think about Jalen Hyatt was the Biletnikoff winner last year. That's the best college football or best receiver in college football. I don't know if you and I are going to say he was the best receiver on the team last year. He produced the most. Yeah. He had the biggest game against the biggest opponent. But could we argue that Sed was still the best receiver on the team? He just got hurt. So it's
Probably.
it's like, hey, everyone just calm down about the receivers. I'm tired of hearing about it now. People aren't talking about running backs. We get it because you need as many as you can have in the SEC. It's cliche. Yeah. It's coach speak, but you're going to see Jalen. You're going to see Jabari. You're going to see Dylan. If Cam Seldon can pick up his read blitzes and different stuff, you're going to see him at some point if someone gets injured or whatever. The other guy, Double K, Khalif when he came through. We've been hearing that he looks good for a freshman. So if he can pick up the other stuff, and then you and I, when we went to practice, we loved Deshaun Bishop. Hey, where is he? So it is true that in college football, and especially in the SEC, you need multiple running backs. So this, that whole thing of who you're going to see and all that, calm down. You're going to see all of them. They're all going to produce. Now,
yeah, I mean, the main point about it is like going into last season, did anyone think Jalen Hyatt is going to win the Blitnikoff? No. Everyone was like, where's Cedric going to be? What is Brew going to be like?
Hey, I don't know. Tennessee fans did love them some Jalen.
Yes, but they didn't think he was going to be that good. Until what? Florida? Jalen wasn't seen as like Cedric was it. Cedric won us the Pitt game. So it was like, that's who we need. That's who's the best receiver. And then Jalen was able to make plays as the season went on, and then it grew and grew and grew, and he had so much production. So it's like you really don't know, and sometimes you don't know till 3 games in.
Brew probably had a better Florida game than Jalen, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So,
and then it's just like other guys are going to step up in important moments. Jalen Hyatt had 5 touchdowns versus Alabama, but he probably didn't have the most important catch like Brew did for setting up the game-winning field goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ramel had the most important catch versus Florida. So it's like, you don't know when it's going to happen, who's going to be there. I'm just so excited that both running backs and wide receivers have depth. And it's like, bring in the horses. Like, we're just keep bringing them in, keep bringing them in. When I was in college and we played Oregon, they had like a rule, and we watched it, broke it down on film for the defense to understand in a team meeting, that a receiver would literally run a go route on their sideline and run off the sideline, and another new receiver would come and run another go route. That corner doesn't get subbed out. So that corner has to defend multiple go routes in a row. And they do that because they know whatever wide receiver they're putting in there, he's going to be good. They've got depth in that position. So that's what you want, which is, I love the depth of wide receiver. I love the depth at running back. One of the positions that I think could be our best, like, overall position group is tight end. And it's kind of out of nowhere. You didn't really see it coming. But Jacob Warren being like a 6-year senior and all the knowledge, and we've seen his skill set. We've seen his blocking. Like, talk about a leader of a position unit. Then you've got the Charles kid coming in, transfer. He's an older guy, veteran, just going to get along where he can. He's going to work hard and put in whatever he needs to better the team. It just seems like one of those guys. And then you got Ethan Davis, who's an absolute freak as a freshman. And we've seen stuff on social media already of him making plays in camp, he was making plays in the spring. So it's like, wow, this tight end group might just be like the unsung heroes, like might just be that position group that it's like, you need a big first down, like the tight ends got you. The tight ends are making those blocks for the long runs on second. Like, that individual, like that group could be so. I'm so excited for this offense, Breed. I cannot tell you enough.
You didn't even mention McCeasy. I mean, you didn't even mention Castle, and he got a lot of reps and a lot of opportunity when we were at spring
That's
practice.
what I was talking about. When I said Charles, I was talking about Castle, so I got that wrong.
Okay.
But yes, that is exactly what I was talking about. But I'm so excited for this offense because I look at everyone who's going to play, all the starters who I think are going to start, and I'm like, where's the weak spot? There isn't one. There's not a weak spot on this offense. Like, the weakest spot is the right guard, which we're trying to just figure out. We know who the tackles are, Mincy and Crawford. Whether one is right, one is left, doesn't matter. We know that Spraggs is probably going to play left. He could play right guard. I don't know. And Cooper's going to be a center. We have one position that we need to fill, and we're trying to figure out, and I'm sure they're still going to compete all through camp to try and figure that out. But besides that, the whole entire offense is ready to go. So and the fact that you have Heupel backing that, it's just like, okay, another season where we're the best offense in the country. That's what I expect.
The other thing is that we talk about too with the offensive line, and we've learned this big time as a Titans fan. I've learned it big time over the years, and you and I've talked about it. But you really don't need 5 offensive linemen 5 starters. You need 6. You need that swing man.
True.
And we just had Mincy and Crawford, which we both enjoyed and liked last year. What we saw at practice, John Campbell comes in. Does he take one of their starting positions? And I don't think going to practice, we would know that unless we went towards one of the later practices.
Yes, honestly.
But because they're going to be moving around so much. But you got John Campbell. You have Ollie Lane and the individual that came from Texas that have played
Carrick.
That have played enough football that if they need to be a 6-man in their guard. And then Addison Nichols, bro, we loved him since the day we saw him. Remember I said it after we went to practice, I'll be shocked if he's not playing at center or maybe even guard if someone else gets injured. So
I wouldn't be shocked if Cooper gets rolled up on, Addison goes in.
Mm-hmm.
They don't bump somebody, like Addison just goes in, he's at center.
Right.
And that's a lot different than bumping your guard that starts, who has a lot of reps with those people, who understands the offense really well because he's a starter. You're bringing in a second-team guy, and that's because you trust him that much to play the most important position on the offensive line at center and be able to make those calls for everybody, get everybody on the right page, setting the tone. Like, that's important, and Addison has met all of those standards. Every time we go to practice and watch him, we're impressed.
Very, very much so. Offensively, it's going to be fine. Now, the other thing is, too, and we'll transition into defense real quick here. So the very, very first time we went to spring and then we saw fall camp, but then really the first time I watched Heupel in a game was in Bowling Green, and I'm there. And going into it, I'm like, okay, this guy's probably not going to show a lot. He's going to run a lot of neutral stuff. He'll pound the rock. He'll get in and out of this game. And then pretty much he did. But what I was surprised to see is how much he subbed. And I was like, I have never seen someone basically sub corners and definitely corners. I've never seen someone sub corners like he did. Then they were subbing the linebackers in and out.
They were subbing like three in, 3 out.
Yeah. And then then they started doing linebackers. I'm like, well, that's weird. I was like, oh, it's Bowling Green. Maybe they're just doing that because they want to get their guys ready for the season. No. Since Heupel has been here, they have done that his first 2 years. Linebackers. Now, corners, someone could argue some of it was because of injury or maybe some of it was a performance. I think it was that, but I also think it's because they like to sub some of these guys. And some of those, hey, we're going against high tempo offenses or whatever the case may be. Like, let's get a corner, a little breather here.
Yeah.
So I tied that in to say on defense, Aaron Beasley is going to be one of the starters. We're assuming Keenan Peele, if he can play to his level that people have talked about, then he will be one of them. That doesn't mean that you're not going to see an Elijah Herring. And then the other one that I'm thinking about is like, do we see the individual from Kentucky, Caleb Perry, who now he's been in the program a little bit. Does he go in and play linebacker with Elijah Herring, or doesn't Arion Carter, who looks really good as a freshman, is he caught up to speed enough? Because you're going to see multiple guys. We know that with this coaching staff, you're going to see multiple defensive backs. Mm-hmm. You're going to see multiple corners. I should say that multiple corners. Yeah. They usually like to keep the safeties and the star pretty routine, but you're going to see multiple corners, multiple linebackers, probably multiple edge guys, and then obviously everyone rotates on the defensive line. So who's the starters is almost a little bit less
on defense.
Right. And so we know that this coaching staff is going to do that. That's just what they do. And I heard someone talking the other day that Tennessee has to continue to close the talent gap. Yeah, I would argue that they still have to close the talent gap with a Georgia or Bama or Ohio State or something like that. The talent gap didn't really bother us last year against Alabama. I get it. A Georgia fan might say, hey, but it didn't help you against us. Hey, I get it. It was an away game. You guys played great. Bad weather. I get it. Y'all won the game. I would have liked to seen another rematch in the playoff if we'd gotten an opportunity. We didn't handle business.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. We still need to continue to recruit at a high level. but people do not understand how important depth is. So I think that's why this coaching staff is so excited, because they're like, yeah, we got some talent in year 1 and 2, but it's really difficult to ask those guys to play every fucking snap on offense and defense, and we can't give them a breather. Well, now it's, hey, we didn't necessarily bring in, 5 stars that are all blue chip and they're all going to play immediately, so the talent is better. But we got a guy who, hey, we can start him, and if he has to come get a blow, we're not missing much when his backup goes in. And so I think we always need to be chasing talent, but the fact that we are in 1,000% better spot talent or depth wise will translate to performance and wins and things like that.
And it's year after year, we're getting more and more talented. Like, it is continuing. You're at a starting point. You're not going to be as talented as Georgia. When Heupel first came in, we went to that first spring practice. We were worried we're going to be as talented as Vandy. Like, it was not good. There was a quarter of the team left. Like, they transferred. It wasn't like they graduated. They left. They didn't want to be there anymore. So yeah, it's like, as soon as we can build up that depth, build up that talent pool to grab from, then we can be that good team that competes against the Bamas and competes against the Georgias, which we're there. We're competing against them. It's not blowouts. We're winning versus Bama. Georgia, I don't care what you say. Yes, they beat us. Yes, it was a very good win for them. Our offense really couldn't move much, but don't let it fool you. That was the most nervous game they had until the playoffs. That was the game they thought about the most during the regular season, bar none. I don't care what anybody says. We were their toughest opponent on their schedule before the playoffs, before SEC championship. That was it. So they're still looking at us as, who's the biggest threat to us in the East? It's Tennessee. So they're still taking us serious.
Yeah. No, and I got an example for the talent, talk about, hey, we got to continue to close the talent gap. And like I said, true, but that depth helps more with talent more than you expect, because we have Byron Young, fabulous edge rusher, just got drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round, whatever it was. When he is out there and he's playing 70 snaps a game, he's just as talented as other edge rushers across the country. But when they are getting to come in, and maybe it's a Nolan Smith for Georgia, or, Will Anderson, some of those big name guys, if those guys get to play 40 snaps and they are a lot more fresh and those legs are a little bit better feeling in the 4th quarter on a 3rd and 8, yeah, they're probably going to be a little bit more efficient with their talent than a Byron Young who's been out there for 92 snaps. Hey, now that you can rotate a guy that might not be quite as good as Byron, but is still a darn good player.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by that the depth alone raises the talent of the play.
Prime example, you get into a game, we're playing a big-time team, Alabama or Georgia. It's middle of the 3rd quarter, and their left tackle's been getting his head blown in by Roman Harrison for the whole game, and then Joshua Joseph subs in.
Yeah.
And he just works him. Buddy's tired as heck going against Roman, and Joshua's fresh, and he just works them and gets a sack. It's like those kinds of things happen and are part of game plans. So that's why you need that depth, so you can take advantage of those like little mismatches that happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like you were saying with like corner and DB, I swear, I think the DB room is so deep. It's insane how many guys are there and how many different positions, all 4. They can play all 4 and a star. Because I look at it and I'm like, okay, I had somebody ask me the other day, like, okay, who's going to be the starters? Who's going to be like the starting corners? And I started like running through the names in my head of DBs. Literally just Danico Slaughter, Judy Lally, Burrell, Haddon, Turnage, Charles, and Turrentine. Then you got our favorites of Ricky Gibson and Matthews. That's like 10 dudes who, like, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if they were a starter this year. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of crazy to think about for 2 positions on the field.
Yeah.
That you have that many guys where you're like, I mean, if he was starting versus South Carolina, I wouldn't be if he was starting in one of our games, I'm not like, oh shit, we're gonna get killed. I'm like, okay, like here we go. Here's your chance. You like step up. But like
I'm a little bit different. I would say I would be surprised if Ricky or Jordan play just because they're younger and there's so much
true
elder statesman individuals above them. But
true,
other
man,
than
when we went to spring, I loved some of those plays Ricky made. I was excited.
I know. No. I mean, the defensive backs, like I said, everyone got on them last year. Numbers don't lie. That's fine. I know where they were ranked. I think they're going to be much improved this year statistically, and then I think they'll be pretty good in general. There's too many quality. I'm not going to say elite players back. There's too many quality players for them not to be able to find 5 that do it well. And you and I already know Tank is going to be on the field. Mm-hmm. He's a solid player, and he's 90 years old, and so they're going to play him. We definitely think Tamarian will be in the back end, and
Wesley Walker.
And then Wesley will probably be playing that dime. I mean the star position, and then it's back to the corners. Who's going to be there? I personally don't think you can keep Danico Slaughter off the field, whether he is rotating at safety, at the dime, or the outside. So I mean that's going to be the most fascinating. Gabe Judy's older. He's good physically. I'm a little bit worried about him in his playmaking ability, his effectiveness, because you can be a good athlete and you look up and it's like, damn, you're the fastest person on the team. You just got beat deep for the 5th time. Like, what are we doing here? Are your eyes in the bad spot? Are you taking wrong steps? So I don't know. I'm a believer. I got to see it to believe it. But a lot of options back there. Any final remarks for Kansas?
Just thinking about it, and I don't know if we actually talked about like some of those number changes that happened on the team. I tweeted
out. They're incredible.
But some of those things are incredible. The one that really gets me excited and makes me just like think of the early 2000s is single-digit linebackers, like the Kevin Simons, the you know what I mean?
Kevin Simon, Kevin Burnett, Gerard Mayo. Yeah,
we got Aaron Beasley as like number 6, Arian Carter's number 7, Keenan Pela's number 11.
But hold on, we got to wrap. I want to wrap this up. But I think what's funny is this: like you could buy a number 0 jersey and you're representing 2 good players, Danico and Jalen. You could have a number 1 and have Dante Thornton, Gabe Judy Alley. You could buy a number 2, have Jalen and Jabari. Then you have Aaron Beasley and Dylan Sampson rocking 6. Then you got Nico and Brandon at 8, Tyler Barron and Ramel Keaton at number 9. Number 9 might be the most important number.
That is the best number.
That might be collectively. That number 9 might be the most important because, like, hey, if Ramel and Tyler Barron can have really good seasons this year,
here's the funniest one, number 10.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
it's Squirrel and Elijah Simmons.
Yeah. All right, hey,
further apart than those 2.
I know. Great talking. Great to be back this week. You all be careful what you hear out there. A lot of airways and a lot of content has to be pubbed, but just be careful. Be careful.
That's right. Don't believe everything you hear. All right. See you, bud.
See you, brother.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you are watching, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment. If you're just listening, rate and review, download and re-download. It helps us out a lot. Follow us on social media at Pancakes and Bacon for our main account on Twitter, at Pancakes and Bacon _RTI on Instagram. You can follow Reed on Twitter at rbacon26. And then you can follow myself at Kyler Kerbyson on all social media. So check me out there. Super excited for football being back. Thank you guys so much. You're the reason we do this. So really appreciate it. And as always, go Vols.